Are you including plyometrics in your current training? Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm the personal trainer and running coach at Kathletics. Here at Kathletics, we're all about meeting you where you are in your fitness so you can approach hybrid training in a sustainable way. Plyometrics are very important to have in your program. If you've actually seen my video on warm-ups, doing plyometrics within your warm-up can set you up for success within that lift as well as for the future. And we'll go through those benefits as well as some exercises to include potentially in your lifting program, but more specifically for your running program. Now, plyometrics have been looked at as something that is only for elite athletes. So you see Olympic track runners who are doing plyometrics as part of their warm-ups. And we often think that, oh, I don't need that because I'm not an elite athlete, which is actually incorrect. Everybody can benefit from plyometrics in some way. Of course, we want to make sure that we are meeting you where you are at within your fitness and we're not progressing too quickly or not addressing things that need to be adjusted beforehand. But for most people, plyometrics can be really beneficial to add into your program, both to help with strength, your muscular endurance, addressing muscles and tendons, as well as preventing things like osteoporosis. Now again, this can be something that is a surprise to people because we think osteoporosis, so the loss of bone, which can happen over time if we don't continue to strength train, if we don't have a nutritious diet, things like that can affect your bone density. So when we think about jumping, we're like, well, we're just going to be having higher impact on the joints, right? Well, yes, but again, if we are meeting where you're at and we are adjusting the progress, adjusting the load, we can continue to load the joints and load the muscles because we've adapted the muscles over time. So if you are new to plyometrics, things that I would recommend, start by using some assistance either with a resistance band or a TRX. The TRX can be a really helpful tool when you're doing things like squat jumps, for example, because you can take some of that load off by using your upper body. The same thing goes with using a resistance band. So using a resistance band, for example, or similar to how we would use a TRX, this is going to want to pull me up just because its natural state is in this position, and when I stretch it, it wants to go back to that same position. So if I'm hopping, this wants to pull me back up. So this is a great way to introduce plyometrics if you are new to that. And again, meet yourself where you are. We can even start with something smaller with small hops here. So again, this can just give you the option to introduce plyometrics slowly and be able to increase the load over time. Now, as I said earlier, plyometrics are not just for elite athletes. Plyometrics are for everybody, and especially if you're doing a higher impact sport or activity like running or pickleball or something where you're having to have higher impact on your joints, plyometrics is something that you're already doing, so you might as well prepare yourself for that specifically. Now we're going to go over 4 different exercises that I would recommend including as a runner. Now you don't need to be doing all 4 of these as part of your warm-up. I would just choose one and then progress to the next one or change it up every once in a while just to keep it fresh, but again, keep you prepared for your run as well. So a couple of my favorites are pogo hops. So number 1, pogo hops, just like we were doing with the band. You're just going to be hopping here. You can do this for duration or for reps. I do a combination of both of them depending on the day. So I may count up to 50, I may do it for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, things like that. Another option that you can do would be to do the single leg version of that. So same thing, we're just hopping on one leg here. I really like this one for runners because what you're doing is having to land one leg at a time. But again, if you are feeling new to plyometrics, I would start with both legs before you start hopping onto one. The third exercise I would consider are skaters, and especially for those of you that are on uneven terrain or planning to run on a trail, this one's nice because it gets a little bit more into that lateral motion that you likely find yourself in when you're having to navigate down or up a trail. So skaters, we're hopping side to side. Really want to think about keeping your toes forward on this one. And lastly, to go over split jumps. So split jumps are basically lunges that you're jumping out of and switching to the other side. So coming down, popping up, switch, alternating sides here. This one is also really good for runners because it kind of is mimicking a similar motion there. Variations of these plyometric exercises are within all of my hybrid training programs to some extent. So again, we always meet you where you are at, but especially if you're a runner, we do include at least one of these in your warm-up for your run days as well as in your lifting days. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, be sure to like, subscribe, and then we'll see you in the next one.